my GC co-creators, Lilou here in Honolulu, Hawaii on the GC Living Tour, and today with the amazing, fabulous Dr. Bruce Lipton.
Lilou, thank you so much, and what a wonderful place. Look, Diamond Head and all that kind of stuff. It's just like exotic gardens, so it's wonderful to talk about the Garden of Eden maybe, you know?
Ooh, I like that. I loved your conference. It was amazing. You were one of the top speakers. Well, you were the featured speaker at the World Congress of Quantum Medicine.
I was a lucky guy. Very lucky to be here with a lot of people that are thinking differently and looking for another and better world. So I love participating, especially to see that there are a lot of young people there as well. And for me, that's really very critical because it's the young people that are going to be, you know, leading this revolution of evolution. Yeah. And that's why I'm so excited at the opportunity to get younger people involved into this whole process, because they are the drive force for the evolution that we're facing. And for me, it's really important to talk with them because a lot of them feel so disempowered. And they feel so, you know, lost, like I can't get my foot into the world, I can't get started in here. And it's sort of like, well, that was the whole intention. Yeah. Because by not being able to be part of the system, we now have about half the population that's not part of the system, which is the most important step in making an evolution. Is if everybody's holding on to the system, you can't change the system. Mm-hmm. But you get 50% of the people that are not holding on to the system, it's like, we're ready for a change. Yeah. And I'm so excited because while they're feeling lost, it's actually, they play the most important part in allowing us to create a new evolution for all of us. Is that we currently see the world as a physical, mechanical machine. Everything is chemistry and atoms and stuff like that. And it turns out the new understanding, really, which is quantum physics, says the focus shouldn't be on the material things. The focus is on the invisible energy things, which include thought and belief, because it turns out it's the invisible energy that controls the physical world. And this is what quantum physics talk about. They talk about what they call the field. And I say, well, what's the field? Well, they say invisible moving energy that influences the physical world. And I go, well, that definition is the same definition for spirit, invisible moving forces that influence the physical world. So it's interesting that today's modern science is reconnecting us with the ancient history of spirituality, which really says that we are energy beings. Yeah. Inhabiting a physical body. Well, if we understand that, we start honoring the energy part, the invisible stuff that we've let go out of the equation, because all we look at is, give me the physical material, give me money, cash, give me things. And it turns out that it's the energy is more powerful, the invisible stuff is more powerful than the physical stuff. So turning our beliefs around and recognizing our thoughts are powerful elements. Then all of a sudden it says, let's start exercising our thoughts rather than exercising our wallet, let's say, in controlling the world. And this gives an opportunity for all of us, every one of us, because we all have thoughts and we all have this energy, and since thoughts create the science, and this is quantum physics. They talk about that it's consciousness that creates the world. And so we all have to start recognizing we all are conscious, and all collectively our consciousness can change the world. So when you have a lot of people out there that's saying, oh my God, the world's out of control, I say, yeah, but all you need is a lot of people who know that to say, let's consciously create the different world, and then we're not held victim of the world that we're in, because we can manifest the world that we want. And that's why I get so excited by all the viewers out there, because each viewer out there represents another consciousness that, with all the other consciousness, can change the world. And this is what the evolution is all about. What we're facing is an evolution, not a physical evolution. The human body already evolves. We're not going to change that. It's how we relate to each other with our consciousness. So we're all coming together in one giant consciousness called humanity. And this is the evolution we're facing.
Yes. You were explaining in your lecture yesterday that we were going from a church-based very much model to then, now science is giving us the truth.
Science has been doing that for 150 years. So we left the church-based model of a spiritual world, entered into the science-based model of a physical world. We played both of those worlds now. And what's the evolution? The evolution says both of those worlds collectively make the world. So it's not just spiritual, it's not just material. You have to bring both of them together. And so now that we travel through the spiritual part of the world with the church running the world, and then the material with the science running the world, we're coming to a closure that says, to understand the world, you have to invoke both the spirit and the matter And that's why consciousness, when I talk about spirit, is that really our consciousness, our energy, our thoughts. It's not physical, it's energy. And yet science now tells us those thoughts are shaping the physical world. So we can change the world we live in by just changing our thoughts, but that means changing the programming.
Which is in the subconscious. You're saying that 95% of things that happen in our life are coming from the subconscious.
Yeah, and that's the part that people have to wake up to, because a lot of people think, oh, look, my desire is to be successful, have a great relationship, have a great job. I want all these things, and now I go out in the world, and it's like, I'm not getting there. I'm not making it. And it's like, and they get frustrated, and they say, well, it's not me, because my intention is to be successful, and I'm not being successful, so it must be the world is against me. And then all of a sudden I'm a victim of, like, well, this is not the world I wanted. And it turns out, no, it's not the world your conscious mind wanted, but it's the world your subconscious mind has been programmed to create. And the word subconscious, by definition, means below consciousness. So you are creating without being conscious that you are creating this. And this becomes a problem, because it turns out it's not the outside world that's keeping us from succeeding. It's the invisible inside world that we've been programmed with through culture and family to have lost our power. And that's the biggest thing about this propagation of the belief system. This is not new, you know. It's very interesting. The Jesuits, 500 years, the Jesuits of the church, they would boast. They would say, give me a child until it's 6 or 7, and it will belong to the church for the rest of its life. What they knew is what we're talking about in the new biology. The first 6 years of your life is programming. Programming from other people, not your programming, parents, family, community. You as a child are in a hypnotic state for 6 years. Your brain is functioning in a hypnotic state, meaning the first 6 years is download, download, download. And the problem with the download is we're not conscious during that part, which means whatever was downloaded, you didn't filter it with your belief system. You didn't have a belief system. Whatever you heard, saw, or experienced in the first 6 years is a recording, just like this is a tape recording, boom, down in your subconscious mind. And then we find that 95% of our life is actually from the subconscious mind, with only 5% from the conscious. And you say, what's the difference? Conscious mind is you, your spirit, who you are, your wishes, your desires, what you want out of life. Conscious mind. I say, well, you want to be successful, great. You want a great job, great. That's all conscious. I say, but you're only using that mind 5% of the time. You're living your life 95% of the time with the programs that you got from other people. So the truth is, you are living other people's lives invisibly, because it's called subconscious, meaning you don't see it. And so when you're creating these behaviors, you yourself don't even know you're doing it. And if your behaviors are not supporting you, then you sabotage yourself without even you knowing you're doing it. And that's where the victim comes in. It's like, oh my God, I want to be successful and I'm not. The world's against me, I'm a victim. It turns out, no, you were programmed not to succeed. And you're engaging the program without you seeing it. So we were sabotaging ourselves without ourselves knowing it. That's why the new biology, I want people to wake up.
And what I feel the great news is, and you talked about it a lot, is this honeymoon effect. And when we can be in love, and it feels like we can be in love with ourselves, with life, with all that is, there is a way to tap in this infinite, like, power and subconscious that overwrites the subconscious.
Absolutely. That's the wonderful thing, because those people out there that have fallen in love, and you know, if you could go back in your mind just for, you know, I want you to go back to that point where you fell in love. I call it the honeymoon period, where you did this. And I asked you a couple of questions. I say, when you were back in that love state, head over heels in love, were you healthy? And it turns out almost everybody says, yes, I was, you know, exorbitantly healthy. Everything was great. I said, did you have energy? Oh, we had tremendous energy to be active day and night in this love period, in the honeymoon. I go, yeah. And then when I say, how about, was life so much fun that you couldn't wait for the next day to have more of this experience? And the answer was yes, because it was so great. And I go, well, think about it. You created health. You created energy. You created a world that was so beautiful for you when you were in love that you couldn't wait for the next day to have more of this world. And what it turns out is, well, how did our world, which could have been a crazy world before you met this person, then you meet this person, and then the next thing you're in this great honeymoon experience, okay? And then your world today is heaven on earth. Yesterday was hell. Today's heaven on earth because you fell in love. And then what I want people to know is, that was not an accident. That wasn't just a, wow, that just happened. It's like, you created the love experience, and in the process of creating the love experience, you created health for yourself, energy, and you created the world that was so beautiful for you that it was heaven on earth. And why is this important for me to let you know? And basically it said, this was not an accident. This was a creation. And if you understood how you did it, and now we know why, how it happened, and that is, remember, our conventional understanding is we run our lives 95% of the time from our subconscious programming, okay? And
I'm a little closer here because I think our camera is having a mind of its own. It's in love with another tree or something. I don't know.
So basically it says, well, how did the honeymoon happen versus how did the hell the day before happen? The answer was, when you are falling in love, you actually don't go into the subconscious program because the conscious mind is so excited about being here, it doesn't leave, and that's why the problem most of the time is our mind's thinking, and when the conscious mind's thinking, by definition, it's not paying attention, and that's when the subconscious programs run. When you're in love, the conscious mind doesn't want to go anywhere, it wants to be right here and take in all that love. So this is one time in your life where you have a tendency to stay in the conscious mind. I said, well, what happens when you stay in the conscious mind? The answer was, you created heaven because you were creating from your wishes and desires. But the moment life gets busy again and your conscious mind starts to travel, then you go to the default, and the default is a subconscious program. But those programs came from your parents, your family, and community, so they're not even your beliefs. So you start living other people's lives. So for me, what does it all mean? And as you express, is like, when we're in love, we create heaven on earth. What if we could learn to stay in our conscious mind, which is called Buddhist mindfulness? It's a practice. It means that you can then have a honeymoon every day for the rest of your life on this planet. Because it was only when we get out of our conscious mind do we return back to the hell on earth again. And that's because we were actually creating that without ourselves even knowing it.
I love it, and it really feels like we can, by falling in love, and the gratitude, that's where it is too, the gratitude, the understanding, giving ourselves that love, then we can recreate that every single day.
Lilou, this is exactly the biggest issue, and here's this. When we have a group of people and we do like kinesiology muscle testing, one of the questions that I love to ask, the first question in muscle testing is, you know, get ready to do a muscle test, hold out your arm, and then make a statement, I love myself. The most surprising thing is, I think up to 80% of the audience will not test positive for that belief. And that's because during our childhood development, we were so criticized by our parents and our family and criticized to do better, which meant at some point is, well, you know, why are we being criticized? Well, our parents want us to do better, but if our subconscious mind's just recording the criticism and our conscious mind's not there, then our belief of who we are the critical things like, oh, you're not smart enough, you're not lovable enough, you're not, you can't do sports, you don't deserve things. These are what parents say. When we put that down in our subconscious, that becomes our belief system, our subconscious, and since we run our lives 95% of the time from that, that's why when you check, do I love myself, and the answer comes out, well, what kind of childhood language did you hear from your parents? And the issue is that's why 80% of the people cannot test well for loving themselves, because their subconscious never got the program from the parents, oh, you're the most wonderful, loving child, and you can do anything, and, you know, we support you in everything and all that. If you didn't get that, then you got criticism. And if that criticism went in the subconscious mind, then that was recorded and you become the criticism. And so
never good enough, not worthy. Oprah Winfrey, that interviewed for 25 years, so many hundreds and thousands of people on her show, said the one thing that I've noticed after all these years is really that most people just don't feel worthy, and just by them being recognized, it transforms their world sometimes.
Exactly. So
it starts with us.
That's what all of us need, because all of us, we should test that as just, do I love myself? And why is this an issue? If you can't love yourself, then how are you going to find somebody to love you? Because the first thing your psychology would say was, I can't love myself, and this person says they love me. Why would they love me? And I don't even love myself, so they obviously are not a good judge of love, because if they're loving me and I don't love me, then we don't agree on that. And people sabotage themselves because of these subconscious beliefs. So to fall in love, the first thing is you got to love yourself. That means we have to undo tremendous programming that most of us got as kids that disempowered us. And it's actually very interesting. I said the idea that programming a child for the first 6 years, the Jesuits knew that for 500 years. The government knows that. The people that run the world know that. So what have they done? Collectively, they've given us programs as a group that disempower each one of us because that empowers them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so this is a time of revolution to say, no, take your power back. And the first way of doing that is to own you are a divine entity in this body. So let's start living that way.
And we become then, as you were explaining, cultural creatives. How about that?
Well, that's the evolution that we need. The evolution says this world doesn't work. And the reason is it's being manipulated, and we are victims in a sense of the world of our belief system. And what it's time for us to recognize now is that cultural creatives are those people that start to look at different beliefs in the conventional world. And this is a necessary time right now for a very simple reason. Just simple. Science has revealed that we're going extinct. And we're going extinct because our behavior is destroying the fabric of our social organization. It's destroying the environment that we live in. And basically says, well, how are you going to survive? And Albert Einstein says, you cannot solve the problems with the same thinking that created the problem. So it says, oh, then the beliefs that we grew up with are the beliefs that are creating the problem. So how do you get out of it? And the answer is new beliefs. It's time for this. So cultural creatives, such as everybody watching this video, are people who are looking and say that there are different beliefs that I can live by that are more sustainable and offer more value to life than the ones we were programmed with. And that's why I'm so delighted to have the opportunity to speak with you, because I know we're going to reach a large number of people who are saying, this is not the life that we want. We want something better. And I'm saying, great, because you're the ones that can change it. And you're the ones that can create the new world. And that's why I would spend any time to have an opportunity to talk with you to say, listen, this is a great opportunity for all of us, because we can learn to live in heaven. If we all learn to live in a honeymoon, then everybody on a honeymoon is living in heaven. Well, if everybody was living on a honeymoon, then the planet would be what it really is, heaven. Yeah. Because this is a place to create. And yet we've been creating other people's beliefs because of the programming, and those beliefs are sabotaging us. So it's time for us to take back control.
Yeah, and it's time to create new model in every single domain. And it feels, for example, the tour works on donations, and people from all around the world donate to support this tour, and it's so beautiful. And at the same time, a lot of us need still to create new business models or new sustainable, profitable ways to grow and to live our lives, but still not based in the old model. So it's we're like in between two phases, and we're going back and forth, but it doesn't feel right, the old model, and the new one is emerging, but not there.
But it's called development, and we have to go through a development. We have to try things. So every one of us out there is doing an experiment on our own lives. My life is an experiment. If I do this, does it improve my life, or what does it do? So we all have an opportunity to try things. And when we try things, the ones that work, and you keep those, and the ones that don't work, you let those go. And through that development, we get to a place where we are then working in the field of all those beliefs that support us, rather than get rid of all the ones that don't.
But it's a very small, it feels like the 5% that you were describing of a subconscious, it feels nearly like sometimes we're standing in that 5% of flow, which feels infinite, but it's such a small space to stand in an equilibrium to find those newest ideas, or for those new ideas to emerge and come to us.
That's why the honeymoon doesn't last for a lot of people. It lasts long enough because I can keep my conscious attention not 5%, 100%. But it's very difficult to keep your conscious mind 100% of the time, because we think. And the moment you think, that means your conscious mind is now disconnected. It's into a thought. Well, the problem is if it's thinking, it's not paying attention. And that's by default when the subconscious programs come in, and then by default we start behaving in ways that are self-sabotaging because the programs in the subconscious primarily came from other people. So, get out of the 5%. Expand that 5%. The more you expand that 5%, the more power you have. And the more power you have, the more you have the opportunity to create heaven on earth. And that, I would see, is having experienced this now for a number of years, because I had to change my old programming. Now I live here, and while all hell looks like it's breaking loose on the planet, wherever I am, like right now, well, this is heaven on earth. And so I realized you can be here, live heaven on earth in the midst of all the craziness that's going on, because if you are controlling your consciousness, then you're controlling your reality. And that's the whole message right there.
Beautiful, Bruce. Thank you so much. I have a last little question. I love that you have an earring here, and I know a lot of people that see you.
Three of them, actually. But
tell us about it.
each one of them represented some big point in my life. The first one was, I remember the first one was, I was teaching at the university and I got tenure, which is like the high level advance in the university. So the day I got tenure, I went out and got an earring put in. And it was funny because I showed back up at work at school the next day, and all my faculty colleagues looked at me and saw the earring and they just started shaking their head thinking, maybe that was a mistake to give him that tenure kind of stuff like that. And yet it was like, for me, it was like, past that landmark, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I got one when I got a divorce because I said, okay, my life I wasn't living it the right way, and I'm ending that, and so I put another one in, and they jump like that occasionally, and so for me those are little calendar markers.
Uh-huh. Do you believe that we're at the end of a cycle here? The Mary calendar is saying, and Dr. Carl Kalman and the interviews we did are saying the 28th of October is a crucial date. How is your whole thing with that? We
have to recognize that when a date is given, some people think, oh, it's the exact date at the exact time, and it's like, no. That's a midpoint of what we call a probability curve. Uh-huh. Probability curve, they call that in the science a bell-shaped curve because it looks like a bell like that. Yeah. And you put the date in the middle, and then it says, but the actual date could either be before or after that date, depending on the shape of the bell. So, well, we have a date, let's say October 28th. It doesn't necessarily mean that anything special is going to happen on the 28th. It does mean we're getting ready for something special. And it's going to be very soon. That's why I'm saying the evolution that we're talking about is not down the road in years. It's in months, a year or two at the most, where this whole world is going to go through this evolutionary paradigm connected to that. But there's so many other factors that are also supporting. It's not just one thing, Mayan calendar, world changing. No, we pushed ourselves to the edge of extinction. That if we don't change, irregardless of what the calendar says, if we don't change, science has already said, we are on the downhill slope of a rapid extinction right now, mass extinction they call it. Mm-hmm. So who cares what the calendar says? If we don't change, we're going to die anyway. So but you put all these different things in, and all the crises. There's an economic crisis, there's a fuel crisis, all this food crisis, global climate change crisis. And you put all these different crises together and you go, wow, so much is going on. You can look at all the individual crises, like this is a tree, and this is a tree, and this is another tree. I say, if you pull far enough back, you see that the trees are not separate entities. They're all part of something bigger called the forest. The forest we're facing is evolution. All the different crises, including the Mayan calendar, are individual trees in a large forest of evolution. So it's not just one thing that says we're going through evolution. All the signs coming everywhere say, if we don't make this change, then this whole thing is going down the tubes. And this is not the first time that civilization have come to this point. There was a thing called Atlantis. They were an advanced society, and then boom, they disappeared. And we are an advanced society. We can disappear just as easily and just as quickly as Atlantis disappeared.
Advanced or not so advanced, we think we're advanced, but possibly we're not that much compared to other civilizations.
Well, even Atlantis was advanced, but where is it? It's gone. Yeah. Okay? So the whole idea is that you might think we're advanced, and yet the other hand is, if we're not advanced enough, it will not save us. And so that's why I'm really excited, because I think we're on that border of we can make this jump, but we have to get all together and recognize all of us on this planet are cells in the body of an organism called humanity. And that right now the cells are fighting each other, which is the equivalent of what we call autoimmune disease. And so humanity's health doesn't look very good right now, but we're also in a revolution where people are taking back their powers, and governments are falling, and people are breaking out of the borders that have held them to, as separate entities, to come together. And that's why, for me, it's exciting to see young people. I travel all over the world, and if I took my picture with some of these young people, and no matter what country I was in, and then just showed you the picture, you wouldn't know, was that in California, or was that in Russia? Or was that, in this country, or was that in Thailand, or was that in the United States? It's like, you can't tell from looking at the young people. And for me, why is that important? Because it says young people from over the entire planet are connecting together in one unity. And that is the great hope in my life. the great.
Beautiful. And you know you're part of that. We're so creating this all together. We send you much love from Hawaii.
Oh, I so appreciate it. And I thank everybody out there listening, because really everyone that's listening is part of an evolution. You are a cultural creative. You are looking for answers to get us out of this mess, and that's why you should be recognized for your pioneering spirit, your vision, and your desire to create a better world than the one we're in right now. So I thank all of you. Thank you very much.
Woohoo! Yes, bring on the juice, Bruce. Thank you.
Thank you, darling.
Bye-bye, my beautiful co-creators.